because I believe science might offer an answer to the curse of the Bambino.
Why someone took so long to hire that guy is beyond me. Anybody who's not tearing their team down right now and rebuilding it using your model, they're dinosaurs. One of the great things about money is it buys a lot of things. One of which is the luxury to disregard what baseball likes, doesn't like, what baseball thinks, doesn't think. This is threatening, not just a way of doing business, but in their minds, it's threatening the game.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
All right, welcome to the second episode of the Baseball Opps with TopV podcast. I thought the first one went pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
This one we're going to be interviewing Rich Dunno with the King of the Hill, which I'm really excited about. Been with King of the Hill as an affiliate, basically helping them, really get the program out or get the plate out there for the past, I'd say, at least 2 years, because we did the last two ABCAs together. That's the Baseball ABCA, Adult Baseball Coaches Association, which is one of the biggest baseball conventions. And we've gotten a booth together. We're going to do it again this year. In Indianapolis is supposed to be really big this year. I think we're getting we've normally had one little booth. I think we're supposed to have two big booths this year. So we're really excited. But we want to tell you more about what this is. So what it is it's a force plate trainer. And, there's been other ones out there, but this one is very different because it is an indication of force production is being created. And baseball, as much as we've heard it our whole lives that we need to learn the lower half as pitchers or as hitters, or as position players, which he has plates for hitters and pitchers, and I've done it with position players with our 2X programs. It's all about the lower half. It's about learning the lower half. But baseball, once again, even though you hear that, you look at all the training and instructional material out there, not all of it, most of it, and it's very much arm-based. So here's this trainer out there that really does what baseball's always talked about, how to develop the lower half. And, of course, the 3X programs and our 2X programs give you instruction, and we have a specific manual for this trainer to show you how to use it, how to technically use it. Because when you get this heavy plate that probably weighs about 45 pounds, you don't know what to do with it. So we give you instruction and drills and stuff to really benefit from it. So what it does is it gives you a click when you push hard enough, and you can crank the plunger to where it makes it harder to push, and you get an auditorial, a response, a sound that says, hey, obviously you click the plate, and that's what we're going for. We're going for this pop, and obviously there's a time we want to hear the pop, but the pop can give us basically two things or three things: timing, the vector of the drive, because you can't just push this plate in any direction; it has to be pushed linear, and how hard you push. So there's three things coming off of that: timing, direction, and the amount of force generated. So it's a great coaching tool. It's one of those coaching tools, like literally when I put it into my programs, I had to coach less, and that's been the coolest thing about it. What would you say, Stephen, about it, just working with the trainer?
Yeah, I think it's huge. It fits in really well with all of our drills. We're a lower half-based approach ourselves. And like Brent says, we have guys coming to the camp. You put them on the plate, and they just can't pop the plate at all. And it's a big indication of that they're not using their back leg. You can switch it around and go to the front leg and see if they're getting force production from their front leg and stabilization and extension of the front leg. So, it really goes in perfectly with what we do. And I think it's a huge tool that is really starting to be embraced in a lot of baseball. He works with a lot of major league teams with it as well.
Cool. So, I'll just talk more about that with the baseball industry. Rich is doing very well with this. He's currently in spring training going to mostly every major league team. He's probably taken it to every single team. I think he said he hasn't officially hit every team, but he's been working to, and he's been to a lot, and they all love it. And, he says typically he gets about 15 minutes with them, and they turn it into about an hour because they love it so much. And it's been great. I've actually had teams reach out to me through Rich because of the trainer, and because they wanted to learn more about how you use it. And Rich is always a great person to refer those that support him, and we work really well together. So that's been cool. But he's probably got into every one of these organizations, but still, I just feel like it's still kind of like, it's still either out of the box. I think it is. I feel like it's very much an out of the box approach. I wonder how these pro teams embrace it, but it's still very much an out of the box approach. Because, I mean, don't you feel when we look at marketing of baseball, the baseball industry today, we don't see a lot of these these lower half devices. We see a lot of upper half training tools, don't you think?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess the only other one I could think of would be pitcher's power drive, but people always compare the two, the King of the Hill and the pitcher's power drive, but they're completely different products. So,
yeah, and we're not going to go into why they're different, because power drive gets pissed off if we get too in depth, because we're not, we don't need to be defending their products. So, obviously we like the King of the Hill better, but but of course people are going to probably like the other one better. So we'll leave that up to you. We won't indulge on why we like it better or not. But yeah, there's not many. So there's probably 2 in that industry of force plates.
Yeah.
But if you look at like upper arm devices, gosh, I could think of 15 of them that are arm-based training devices that I saw at the ABCA or I've seen online. The other day I was just going through Instagram and I saw, I'm just interested to see those who have more followers than us. Not that we try to just, not that all we do is focus on Instagram, but it's interesting to see those that are bigger than us. And I swear I see guys with 30,000, 40,000 followers on Instagram and their coaches or their academies. And I'll look at all their posts and see how many of them are throwing something or using the arms to strengthen, like tubing, or strengthening with the ball to do a reverse throw, or doing something with the arm to
Baseball
either throw
stuff.
or strengthen.
Yeah.
And then I look for how many where they actually show an exercise with the legs, and none of them show an exercise with the legs, and all of them show an exercise with the arm and with the ball. And
the arm's hot right now, Brent.
They've got twice as many followers than we do.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there pushing education and a lot of lower half stuff and
Develop the
athlete. Bring in the
bigger, faster, stronger
MLB combine, and these guys are blowing us away because they're showing like a million ways to do a row or some tubing, shoulder tubing, or how to throw a ball forward and backwards, and never once address the lower half, and they are just dominating the industry.
It's cool to have a bunch of followers and whatnot, but to me, like our depth of our followers, how much engagement we get with our post and creating the discussion, like with everything that you're posting now with the science-backed stuff, and getting people to actually engage and create discussion, to me is much more valuable than it's cool they have a bunch of followers doing a bunch of baseball stuff that baseball really likes, but the fact that you're putting out your stuff and your studies and our approach, and it's creating a discussion and bettering the game, to me that's way more valuable than just having a bunch of followers.
No, I mean, I feel the same way. It's just it's obvious what the industry or what the young player looks for today. They look for what's trending, which they do in everything. It's pop culture, right? And what's trending in baseball, which has been trending for a while now, is throwing devices, like throwing, obviously, weighted balls, tubing, and they really like the different colors of the tubing. I notice how they love to post how these devices are now using all these different colors, different ways of using them. I mean, I don't think the industry has much anywhere else to go when it comes to throwing something. I think they have literally figured out every possible way to throw a ball that somehow seems like it's benefiting the throwing athlete. I mean, where can the industry go when it comes to innovating more throwing?
Have you seen those dog throwing devices where it's like the big lever, and you go to the dog park and all the girls are throwing? Yeah.
Is that next?
Add velocity to your fastball with a dog thrower.
And then same thing with the tubing. Is like, what other ways can we figure out how to attach tubing to our body? Pretty soon it's going to be like, it's going to smell. I think that's what they're starting adding in other senses. Like, this tubing has a band that wraps around your arm and it smells like, I don't know. I mean, where can you go with it? I feel like the market is maxed out when it comes to tubing, shoulder routines, and throwing and different ways of throwing. So obviously, we're making fun at something that we feel like we represent the other side of. So top velocity, we represent, not that we just represent the lower half, but that's the foundation of our approach. And we truly believe, and that's the hardest thing, is when you read the science, it's the way the system works. The energy is built in the ground, and then it moves up the system, and it multiplies up the system. And if you get caught halfway through the process with a poor amount of energy, you wind up overcompensating, and then you see that actually as negatives. And then all of a sudden you look at the science and you see how that links to the injury. So then you never want to ever bring in any type of understanding or approach that's overcompensation built, or that's training overcompensation. So we're very strict to understanding how the lower half builds the foundation, and that's what the King of the Hill really represents. And that's why we've gotten on this rant, because the King of the Hill and 3X is really pulled together hard to represent really the way pitching should be basically addressed or built from these ground forces, and from understanding the lower half, and then understanding how the lower half moves the hips, and then how the hips transfers the energy to the upper extremities. And so, we really feel like we've done well to represent this, and we're still trying to get this out there. And that's really what I think, Rich is going to promote. As much as Rich is way more of I wouldn't say nicer guy, I guess. I mean, because I think I'm a nice guy. Maybe I'm not, but
he's the most approachable man in the world, Brent.
I'm definitely not approachable. So you're right. He is way more approachable than me.
Not even approachable. He'll go straight up to you. I feel like he could go up to anybody and start a conversation, no problem.
He is. He's one of those guys that everyone probably knows. That obviously he's been around. They all know him, and they remember him. So he leaves an impression, and the impression is always very positive. And
yeah.
You're right. I don't think I would leave a positive impression with a lot of people. So that's where he's. So I think that's why he does a lot better job.
That's not true. He just has it's a gift of his that he can just go up and start a conversation and be a good conversationist and leave them with a good impression. It's a good gift.
Yeah, and his business is all in his hands. I mean, not many guys work for him. He does have a few, kind of like us, small business. Man, the way he builds this product is ridiculous. Like I said, it weighs probably 50 pounds or more. It's built
50 pounds? No way.
Okay, you're right. He's going to kill me. Probably 35 pounds.
35? No way. I think it's like 15, maybe 20.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go 25. I typically over-exaggerate, so I'm going to go 25. Or we got to weigh it now. And maybe we'll take a bet. So what do you think it is?
I think
it's 15 or 25?
It's 15 pounds.
Okay, you're right. I might have to go down to 20. I continually bring it down.
That was really easy to convince you.
I know. I think he's made it lighter. No, that's why he's made it lighter over the years. Those original plates.
Yeah, the original ones were definitely heavier because they're smaller now too.
I'm still thinking of those damn original plates. Mm-hmm. So it's really well made. I don't ever see them breaking. They get pretty beat up. And it's one of those things. If it did, he definitely would send you a new piece. I mean, he's very good at fabricating the device. It's not something that he's buying from China. He's actually making it by hand, and it's really impressive. It'd be the difference between buying, a plastic card to buying like someone hand, built the car, as far as like even down to like forging the metal. It's like it feels like one of those well-made products.
I don't think we haven't had one break.
Never one break.
How long have you had them? 3 years?
Yeah, maybe it's 3 years now.
3 years, and we're still using the original ones. They're extremely well-made products.
Yeah, so it's pretty awesome. And like I said, we have the 3X Velocity Development Kit that brings in about, I don't know how many drills we bring into it with the training approach that you can get on our site at topvelocity.net with the King of the Hill device. So you get shipped the device from them, and then you get the program from us. And it's awesome. So I would highly recommend you do that. I think it's great for beginners. I think it's great for anyone, but obviously young kids, I think it's a great place to start. Coaches always come to me and they're like, how would you start a young kid as a pitcher? I'd be like, on the King of the Hill plates, learn in the lower half, and then build them from there. And best thing about it is you can do a lot of dry work with those plates. You're not getting into a lot of throwing with them. Specifically, even with our manuals, we're showing you a lot of dry work. But that's it. We're excited today. I mean, anything that you in particular would like to ask Rich today? I mean, we think about it because we want to really just lay out his business, how he built it, why he built it, the future of King of the Hill, and there's some secret in this, so stay tuned. He's got a new advanced product that I've been pushing him with. Hopefully, we'll talk about, and we're gonna ask him like, where does he see his growth, and how is he grown? Because he has grown a lot. What helped him grow so much? Anything else you'd want to ask?
I'm just gonna be curious to hear some of the names that he's got to work with and the professional levels. I know he sells a lot to high D1 colleges, and I'm curious to hear about those guys and how they're using them.
Maybe you can ask him if the Giants bought it.
I believe I saw him ship it to the Giants, so I think they did buy it.
Well, good. Hopefully that'll help them this year.
They don't need it. They'll be fine.
All right. Well, cool. So we'll stay tuned. We're gonna start our interview with Rich. All right, we got none other than Rich Dunno on with us today with the King of the Hill. I'm pretty excited about this. Rich, thanks for being on, and all the way from, is it Fort Wayne, Indiana?
Yep, it's northeastern Indiana.
Well, exciting. So what landed you there in Indiana?
This is where I grew up. Actually, my dad got a job here in Fort Wayne a while ago, actually a long time ago, and my whole life was spent here.
Well, that's exciting. So talk about, we went over the product. We went over the trainer. Obviously, we love it. We're a big affiliate of it. It's been pivotal in adding to my programs because, we both, like us both, believe in the foundation of the pitcher is built in the lower half and how important it is to learning that so you can effectively transfer energy up the body to increase performance and reduce injury. I don't think there's any other way. So I love what you're doing. But talk about how you came into this. I mean, how did it get started?
Well, you know what? I think it starts with my background, which I'm a tool maker with an engineering background, and I started to take a look at pitching in a different way. It started actually with my son. He was, at the time, I think he was 8 years old when we first started taking a look at making him a pitcher. And I went through a couple different programs. Dick Mills was one of them. Another one was Thurston. And initially, when I first started training him, I did know that the lower half was a big part of pitching. Even if with my inexperience, I hadn't went through a whole lot of stuff, but I knew the lower half is where everything started, and that back leg drive was huge. So that's where it all started, is just monitoring. And at the time, it was a visual to where I could still see these kids weren't using their lower half, and all the coaches pretty much yelling, drive, use your legs, and nobody knew anything about it. It was a point to where when I first started learning how to teach pitching, I knew a big part of it was the legs.
And they still don't know anything about it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. It's just funny how things have went over the years. And with my background of building special machines, I know every machine has to have a base. And that's where the lower half is in pitching, as you know. And if that base isn't consistent, it isn't a good base, the rest of the machine doesn't work correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no better way to define biomechanics than with, through a machine, like through how we would actually design a good system in a machine, something outside of,
right,
outside of the body. So I think that's why your background goes perfectly into it. So go into how you actually, what was the moment? Was it an aha moment to really pull this together, or did it just you had the equipment and you just kind of like just made sense to build it,
Yeah, exactly. It was an aha moment. I had a 14-year-old pitcher that was throwing 78, 79 miles an hour and hitting 80s, which is pretty respectable for a 14-year-old. Well, I was in an old warehouse, and I was using a inherited pitching mound. that would slide back every time this 14-year-old was pitching, which told me he was creating a force off his back leg. Otherwise, the pitching mound wouldn't be moving back. Well, when he was pitching, I'd have to get behind the mound and put my feet up on top of it because I didn't have anything to block it up at the time, and I could feel that energy that he was creating, and he was striding out there 90% of his height, maybe sometimes even 100% of the height. And like I said, he was a full 78 to 80 miles an hour. My very next student was a 6'4", 6'5" kid. He was 180 pounds, dunk a basketball backwards, throw 88, 89 from the outfield, but he couldn't get off 81 miles an hour. And it was kind of eerie because it was 81, 81, 81, 81, 80, 81. Well, he was the very next student of mine, and I got him up on top of the mound to throw some pitches. And the first thing I noticed was he wasn't pushing the mound back, and it was actually his back foot would just roll off. There was no drive off of it at all. Well, once I got him to create that force to be able to push the mound back, first of all, he said he could feel it. Well, it took about 2 lessons, and on the third lesson, I brought my radar gun in. And, I mean, it was, like I said, it was eerie. It was 81, 81, 81, 81, the first couple lessons I gave him. Well, that third lesson, he hit 2 at 87, and the rest of them 83, 86 miles an hour. And later that summer, he had hit 91 miles an hour.
I mean, and if we're going to relate this to mechanics, wouldn't that be like you see this car and it has this amazing engine, all this horsepower, but you look down at the wheels and the wheels are moving half the speed that you would have expected that kind of horsepower to be pushing out. So
right.
you as a mechanic tried to figure out what could I help or what could I do to get that horsepower that's in the system. What can I do to get that horsepower more to the wheels? And that's pretty much what you did with understanding the back leg, which really moves the center of mass. Right.
Figured out how to use that horsepower and put it to the ground through ground forces.
Exactly. And so that's the problem is there's a lot of kids out there that go, well, there's some that aren't, but there is a good amount of kids out there who go, I can jump high, I can run fast, I'm strong, but I can't throw hard. It's because they're not getting their horsepower, their engine in the ground, which really at the end of the day moves the system. Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. And, I like your little illustration where it shows the lower half is the engine, the hips and the core is the transmission, and then the arm is the funnel. That's exactly what it is.
I love that, yeah. I don't think there's any better way to understand pitching than trying to break it down to the mechanics of like a machine, of building a car or building any machine that would kind of do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's funny because I just met with the Mets and actually the Tigers this weekend down in Florida in spring training. And I've actually taken that illustration and laminated it so I can show it to him. And Ron Romanek from the Mets, he said he loved it. He says, this is exactly what it is.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. And I had a really good conversation to him that I'll talk to you guys about a little bit later about the biomechanics and how far he's got into it, because he pitched up until he was about 23 and hurt his arm, and then he went to golf. And he started talking about doing some biomechanical studies through golf. And he was actually a pro down in Africa. One of his buddies sponsored him to go down to Africa on the tour. And he was an average golfer down there, but he had a good time. But when he came back, he started taking a look at golfing and pitching totally different way. And he started applying some of the stuff that he learned through golf to use for baseball and baseball for golf. And now he's really into it where he's doing biomechanical studies with the Mets. And I don't know if you seen what he has done these last couple of years. Well, he said out of 79 pitchers, you'd be lucky to have 2 or 3 of them make it to the major leagues. Well, I think it was last year, he got 20 of them.
Wow.
I know, through trades and stuff like that, the 20 of those pitchers made to the major leagues. And he says what he does is he starts from the ground up. He starts working on those guys' lower half. And that's why when I introduced your program to him, I told him you needed to take a look at Brent's program and Steve, what they're doing out there in Louisiana, because it's exactly what you're talking about.
Well, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, I want
Yeah.
to get into what you've done as far as getting the brand out, the trainer out. But first, give them an understanding of this trainer. Like, I know we're on audio here, but give them an understanding of it. And I think the best way to probably to lay out how this thing is technically built and what it does is talk about the whole fabrication process. Like, what does it take to actually build one? And I think they'll get a good understanding.
Yeah, well, let me talk, first of all, take a step back, because the training device, the actual trainer to train the lower half of that back leg to create force, it all started off with the first trainer was not necessarily a trainer, it was a device to collect data. I think I talked to you a little bit about it, and I know you're on me about getting it done,
right.
And I will get it done. But my first trainer had a load cell on it, and I apologize because I'm going to sneeze here in a second.
No problem.
Anyways, if you understand how a weight scale, when you step on it, it tells you how many pounds that you weigh. I actually surfed on the internet till I found a load cell that gave me feedback on it, pounds per square inch. And in time, I was able to take a look at some of my pictures and see what their patterns were. And I know one of the things I noticed was the harder throwers were the guys that actually had a higher peak in that force.
Yeah.
And I could also see how far they went into their delivery before they actually created that peak force, because the first energy that's in your foot to the ground is actually your gravitational phase, where you're actually going into your loaded position to be able to create that force.
Right.
That's the first device that I actually come up with. Then I was able to take that information and made it to spring pressure, the springs that I use now, and put it out there to where I could actually see what was happening too. So then that led into the trainer and the theory of the concept behind the 14-year-old pushing the mound back and the 18-year-old not pushing the mound back. And there was only 3 miles an hour difference, and the 18-year-old was just a phenomenal athlete. So I put those two together, and that's where I came up with the trainer. One of the first ones. You're one of the first coaches that actually sent one to. So
No way.
Yep, it is. And John Madden's another one, and I'm not sure if you know John.
Yeah, I do.
He's a really good guy. He's not as technical as what you are. He's more into training.
I want to get him on the show. Maybe you can help me get him on the show.
Yeah, there's no doubt he'd love to too, and he's doing an awful lot of stuff too that you'd like, because he knows who you are. He's seen your videos and stuff like that. So cool. I'll get him on there. He actually pitched for the Padres, and he went through Fort Wayne. That I didn't know he went through Fort Wayne at the time. It's
cool.
been a while ago.
That's cool.
He'd be another guy to get it on.
Yeah, we want to.
Yeah. So how it works is 2 plates, top plate and bottom plate. The bottom plate is stationary, that actually is anchored to the ground through a foam pad or a bolt if you want to bolt it into the ground. But the top plate moves in a linear action toward second base, if you will, once you step up on top of it, and it requires a force to push the plate back. And once the plate is pushed back, it actually strikes the spring cylinder that makes a noise. And this actually tells us we're creating a force. Now, that top plate is adjustable. The spring pressure can be adjusted through a screw in the back of the cylinder. So once, if you know how a spring works, as it gets shorter, it retains more compression forces. So the shorter the spring, the stronger it gets. So once the pitcher pitches, for him to be able to create that bang, which is the ultimate goal, the feedback, he has to create a force rearward towards second base. And it only moves 3/16 of an inch, which causes him to go toward the catcher. And that's what we want. We want to be able to create that force, increase that force to the point to where once the front foot lands, it causes the hips to rotate, causes the upper body to rotate, and causes the arm to externally rotate.
Yeah, and I said it gives you 3 things as far as output. It gives you, of course, an understanding of an angle of force, because, like you said, it's a linear moving plate. So if you're pushing down, it's not going to move. So you know that you're getting linear. So you know your vectors are changing. It gives you a reading of force production because you can crank the spring tighter to make it more challenging to push force to make the bang. And then it gives you the bang. And the sound can give you an understanding of timing, when it's occurring in your delivery. So you get 3 outputs from that single trainer to help you better understand your ground force production.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's funny, Brent, is that's exactly what the top pitching coordinators are talking about. They said the same exact thing, that those 3 aspects of the trainer. And what's that do? That plays right into what you and Steve are doing, what your whole top velocity is to get in that position where your lower half's loaded and create that force, just like the top pitchers.
Right, and there's no other trainer on the market that gives you those 3 outputs from a device. So wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. It's if there is anything out there, then I'll have to, as my attorney says, go ahead and figure out where they live, and hopefully it's somewhere south because you'll be living in their house.
And so, so is it patented? Is this technology patented?
Yep, and I actually just went through my international patent. I've got some people over in Japan that are trying to purchase it, and I found out one of them is a manufacturer over there. So I'm sure they're going to try to steal it. But
that's what happens to good products.
Yep.
Yeah, I've already got 2 utility patents on it. The first one, I had a patent attorney write up and draw up for me. And the second one, I based another patent which covers a different part of it, which I wanted covered. And I actually, basically, my niece and I wrote that one and had it applied for it and approved. So that saved me an awful lot of money. Now the last one was the international patent, because I really think the Japanese and maybe even the Chinese, because it's getting bigger and bigger over there, the training aspect of it, I think I might be able to sell the patent to one of those guys.
Well, I mean, in a way, it's also unnerving to know that they're learning more about ground forces. So that means that we might find more products out there. But at the end of the day, I think what makes this a really good product is you hand make this product. This is not something you're ordering from a manufacturer. You actually hand make the whole process. Am I correct?
Yes. That's my background, is actually tool making, building special machines. So we actually get some help from a couple different places around Fort Wayne. They laser the plates, which a good laser is about $1 million, and I didn't want to have to invest in that. So we get those done. And we actually have them powder coated from a company just right down the road from us, and then we take and we finish up assembling them and doing a little bit of machine work and putting them together and shipping them out. So yeah, it's 100% built here in the United States, actually in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And it's a pretty impressive. Stephen and I we took a bet on how much they actually weigh, because they're pretty heavy.
I said 15 pounds.
So what is it? I said I think I'm wrong now, but I said 25. Stephen had 15. Who was closer?
Well, I'd have to say, I'm sorry, what'd you say, Brett?
I said 25 pounds.
Okay, well, Brett's a little bit closer.
Yes!
If you take a look at the first ones.
Yeah, that's what I said. The first
I was
one.
going off the second ones.
27 pounds.
The first one was 27 pounds.
That's
wow.
what we talked about. They said you made the other ones lighter, though, right, Rich?
Yeah, we did. I did some modifications to try to not only save some weight, also put a handle in it too. You guys probably recognize that handle right away.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with Mark Pryor. I gave him one of the old ones. Mark Pryor, he's the Padres pitching coordinator.
Yeah.
I gave him one of the old ones, and he said nobody wanted to move it because it was so tough just to move.
I know. I remember. I have I think the first
hate
one.
lifting weights.
I couldn't move the first one. The first one was brutal.
Well, Mark said he was out at USC, and they were doing the pitchers were throwing some bullpens and stuff, and he noticed the trainer, and he recognized it right away, and he said, I like the new design so much better, which I made some adjustments to it, and it works a little bit better, actually a lot better. So yeah, it's 21 pounds. Sorry about that, Steve.
Oh, as long as I was in the ballpark, I was kind of close. I'm surprised Brent actually won that one, though. I was pretty confident it was 15 pounds.
But I'm really excited. I've got some time, and one of the things that I remember you telling me, Brett, I think it was last year, the year before, You need to quit working in your business and you need to work on your business.
Yeah.
Sales are up now that I've got my brother doing all the building and my son doing a lot of the media stuff. I'm excited to implement a new mound that I want to get down to. We talked about it, I think, yesterday, the day before, about where we can measure the force off the back leg and also the landing leg.
Yeah, that's huge, man.
Big.
I'm waiting for that because that's going to be big because we'll be able to. I mean, that to me, that's the next level of the king of the hill. You know, it gives you not only those 3 outputs, but now it gives you an actual number on your force production, which we can then correlate it to the ball speed at the end. So if we have a number coming out the end and we have a number at the beginning, we can find how those numbers are being influenced. And obviously, there's more numbers in between with the kinetic chain. But once we do that, now you're giving them a beginning number to go with their end, their finish number with the ball speed, and that just gives them a whole understanding of what they're doing.
And as that gets implemented across, multiple training facilities, imagine the data you could be collecting too on just hundreds and thousands of pictures on ground force, numbers.
Yes, no, definitely, and I think it'll go. Transfer right into hitting also, the ground force with hitters.
Absolutely.
And then golfers too. So I know that I talked to Ron about what you were doing, Brent, and what we had just got done talking about, the ability to be able to monitor those forces. He's going to get with you. He wants to get with you once I get it down there. So we'll get a call from him.
That'd be exciting because, I have Biomechanics suit and cameras to do motion capture, so I can collect all the biomechanics in the body, but the hardest thing to collect in biomechanics is that ground force. So you're actually making something that you could probably make very affordable, which is really very expensive to get, and you can give it to the average consumer.
Yep.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's the next level, and we're excited about that. I think those out there too that have your trainers. I mean, those trainers are still. Will probably last forever. There'll still be something you'll probably sell forever. This will just be an upgrade to the whole product,
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's something I think that not every consumer will want. The reason why I kind of went into the spring-loaded trainer instead of the data collector was the data collector doesn't necessarily teach you how to do it. It doesn't make you feel like what the trainer does. That's why I went into the trainer, and through your egging on, which I'm definitely excited about, is to build something that we can start measuring stuff so we can show the benefits of your not only my training device but your whole program, because that's what you base your stuff off of.
Exactly.
That's why I love you guys so much, is because it's not just the support of my product, but I truly believe that the lower half is the key to arm health and also higher velocity.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it fun in business when you have 2 different companies that are sharing the same marketing material? Meaning, like, all the studies and the ways things we put out really can help you, and we kind of share it back and forth,
Yeah, no doubt. And I won't say anything on video right now, but I know that the major league teams, there's a couple teams that are trying out a couple things that I don't necessarily approve of, but they're starting to head toward the lower half, the strengthening that lower half and making that as athletic as possible. And like I said, I talked to Ron in a pretty extent. It was actually only supposed to be a 15-minute meeting, but once we got in there and they found out that it was legit product, it lasted an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes.
That's great.
Yeah, and I met a bunch of different coaches.
Talk about how you've become so well known at at all levels. At the top level D1 and you're really getting well known at the major league level. What have you done on the ground to really get the brand out there for people, and specifically these high level organizations, to know about this product? What have you done to do that?
The coach the dang lower half first, Brent.
Yeah.
The slogan. Right, I love that.
Yeah, that's funny. It has been a grind. I love baseball. I love talking to baseball guys like you guys. I love hanging around you guys. There's another competing training device out there I won't name, but one of the first things they did was stick a couple major leaguers on it, and for the most part, marketing a product with the major leaguer on there, it gives you some sort of ability to be able to be legit. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go that route. I wanted to throw it in the trenches. Like I said, you're one of the first ones that I've seen with the theory of what I approve or I agree with. I wanted to put it in the trenches first, and that's where the grind started, because I just didn't get a major leaguer on there and make it look like it's a legitimate product without having it tested. And I got it tested from you before I approached anybody. I got it tested. John Madden's one of them, and some local guys around here. But the first major league team that I approached was the Tampa Bay Rays with Dewey Robinson. Yeah. And Dewey Robinson is just a phenomenal guy. If you ever got to meet him, you'd love him.
Well, that's what I was actually working with the Rays as a consultant when you did that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. And I met him out in the parking lot. I basically begged him to hold on, I'll be there, because I had to drop my parents off in Dunedin. And they were with their car, and then I had to drive back down in the area, and he was nice enough to stick around there. And once I put it on the ground, it only took 5 minutes, and he says, I think you got something here. Yeah. I think that this is something that I think that all pitchers will benefit from. So I gave him the first one. He took it with him. Within, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks, they called up and wanted another one. And then from there, it went to 7. And then they ordered another one to send to the Dominican Academy and one down to the Venezuelan Academy. And they use them in spring training. And some of the players have purchased them from me, too. That's where it all started. And, LinkedIn was a huge part of me getting this out. Facebook, obviously, Twitter was a little bit farther on. But I started using Dewey's name as the headlines in all my emails, and that kind of opened up some doors because they seen Dewey Robinson's name up there, where I was sending it to different pitching coordinators and different pitching coaches and stuff like that. So I started using that, and I actually asked Dewey to if I could use his name because, like I said, it opened up a lot of emails, and that's the hardest thing to get these coaches to do is open up emails. Yeah. Just from the header, the subject line.
But you're saying LinkedIn really helps you find these coaches? Is that where you were finding them?
Yes, that's a huge source for professional coaches and also college coaches, big time college coaches. But at the major league level, I'm telling you, I think one of them was Brent Strom from the Astros. I got a hold of him and we talked back and forth. I actually met him out at the Ron Wolfert's camp. I went out there 2 or 3 years to see what he was doing.
Yeah, I heard he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal guy. And his position, he says won't allow him to do an endorsement, but if he would, it'd be my product because he likes it so much.
That's awesome.
So it went from Dewey to the Reds with Mark Riggins, who's not there. I think he's with another organization now. But it just started to snowball through the ranks of major leaguers before I even got them to colleges. Then in the colleges, I started off with some of the smaller colleges and built my way up to where Vanderbilt's built 2 of them permanently in the pitching mounds. TCU does not use any other training devices other than a towel and my training device.
Wow.
You could see my endorsements. I've been, like you said yesterday, I've been doing pretty good shaking hands.
You have, man. I mean, I love looking at your marketing material, because you don't just put up a picture, you put up a quote from the coach, or you put up something right that he said and representing why he likes the product, and yep. I think that helps a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's my huge because I'm not the smartest in marketing. I'm a coach.
No, man, I think you're doing a great job with the marketing. I think. I mean, you're a foot soldier, and I think that's what makes your marketing very different. Is you're actually out there shaking hands and coaching and teaching people about your product. You're not just on the computer, reaching out that way. You're actually out there in the field. That's what I think's cool.
It seems like every major league team and every high D1 team, all their coaches are putting good endorsements out there on you when I watch your marketing. So I really enjoy it too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what's funny is I'll use the Oakland Athletics, for instance. Their pitching coordinator, who's with another team now, he couldn't get with me, so I sent him one. Within a week, they sent it back and said that they were not a drop and drive type of organization.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. Well, it was a point to where when you set it on the ground, if you're not if I didn't do a demonstration, you'd think it was just another gimmick. But once
you
I'm
wouldn't
able,
know what to do with it. That's why I feel like I was excited I could make that manual with you, even though I know you got John Madden to make one too. Because I felt like that just helps. It gives them, because most people they don't understand ground forces, so you actually have to show them.
Right, exactly. I really dropped the ball on my website for not putting an introductory video on there. I've got one on there for the King of the Swing, and I'm going to finish up the one I'm doing on the King of the Hill. I think that once I use some of your studies and some of your videos on stuff on my website, which we're redoing.
Like I said, you can use anything you want. I love it.
Okay, no, like I said, everything that you use is what I need too.
I know, we're both on the same page.
Yeah, I definitely dropped the ball on some of this stuff and instruction on how to use it, and I do endorse your product. I mean, 99.9% of the time, I'm telling them, you gotta get it. You gotta get this, and the 1% is where I start them off with just the 3 drills that I've got. To where on my website under training, it'll show one video on how the 3 drills that I use. So, yeah. So from there, obviously, it's been exploding through the D1 ranks, and it's really getting the trickle down effect now. Now that the major leaguers are using it, it's going down in college and now going on in high school too.
I mean, it even looks like the point. I mean, I've had like my guys that major leaguers trained with me, David Ardsma. I've had Chris Medlin on it. I even had, when Mike Miner was here on the trainer, Cody Hall here. I've had a good list of top level ball players. Give us some of your list. Who are some of the guys? Because I've seen you show that you've had some big leaguers personally order it from you. Is that what's happening? Or were you just sending them out through referrals? No,
more and more and more they are purchasing it. Unfortunately, now I don't see everybody that's purchasing it, because before I would actually print out the orders and stuff, and I could actually see who was buying it. Now that's my brother's task. And I don't get to see everybody, but just this weekend I was over at the Mets, and Rick Knapp, who was the pitching coordinator for the Dodgers, and he's one of the,
he was there when I was there.
Yeah, yep, and he was a Minnesota Twins pitching coach. He was the Tigers pitching coach. I mean, he's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I got to speak with his son. Gosh dang it, I think it's Chris Knapp. Anyways, I talked to him, and he says, yeah, my dad still trains major leaguers and minor leaguers, and the first thing he gets them on is the trainer. And he says, I've trained with it too, and it helped me improve everything, every part of my pitching. He said even control, because that directional force gets him going in a more consistent path to home plate. He's huge, and I put a picture of Chris on Rick Knapp's Facebook page, and he says, I endorse it every chance I get. I love it, and we use it every chance we get. So I do have a number of minor leaguers and a couple major leaguers using it that I don't know. With your program and with the trainer, it's no brainer.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool to see you've had, like, Vanderbilt's been a big one to embrace it. I love how they built it into their mounds in their training facility.
Right.
Yep. We also saw one of my favorite Vanderbilt guys, Carson Fulmer. Didn't you send one to him?
Yeah. Yep. He's got one. He endorsed it right away. He says he loves it. And did I see that he got called up, or he's going to be up with the big league team this year?
It probably will be. I mean, they gave him some time last year. I got, when I was doing scouting, I've said this guy was, big league ready. So I think he's going to do well. I mean, he's electric. So, and he's someone too that I even think he could get better at his back leg. He's a little bit more rotational with it. I think that training would actually really help him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. I really do.
Well, cool. So why don't you talk about the future? Like, what kind of growth do you expect in the next few years, and where do you want this company to go? I mean, how big do you want it to get?
Well, obviously, at a standpoint of money-wise, as much as I could. With the other couple products that I've got going, I still haven't even come close to touching what the Queen of the Hill, which is the girls softball fast pitch version of it.
Right.
The application for that is even more pure than what the King of the Hill is. It's a linear direction, and just like hitting, it's a linear energy that we create off the backside. Once a foot lands, it causes the hips to rotate. Yeah. And that's where obviously you get that chain reaction. It's a point where I haven't even come close. The first event that I heard of was Michigan State, Skylar Meade. By the way, they were ranked number 3 in the nation last year statistically wise for pitching. He said that the girls softball kept on borrowing their pitching, their King of the Hills. So cool. He told them to get their own. once I got one to her, they wanted another one. They're using in the camps, but she sent me an endorsement with a huge endorsement that got some doors opened up for the girls softball. But again, I got to find time to be able to do that. I actually have to find somebody to maybe be able to take over that avenue, because I think that's a huge market. It is a huge market.
I think it is.
But
at the same time too, I think you have an amazing product because it's going to withstand the test of time. And I think what products withstand the test of time are obviously good products. And the reason it's a good product is because the more the science that is coming up, I mean, it's out there, and of course we're helping try to lead the way of getting this science to the consumer, to where they're not just hearing, what's going through the grapevine. They're actually getting the actual data of how this all works. It really proves the ground up approach, and so as more of this science gets out, your product becomes more relevant, and it's just going to keep growing. It's not going to be one of those fly by night products and those gimmicky products, because most of those products are failing to really represent the science. And so the more the science comes up, which happens over time, the products that survive and stay around were the ones that were more legitimate, or the ones that were better products at supporting the data. And I think that's what your product is. So I think you're right. As long as you can keep the course that you're taking, and you don't try to, jump too fast, I think you're going to continue to grow as long as you want to do it.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. It's funny because when I first started off, this is 3.5 years in the making out of my garage. And like I said, you were the first one to really, truly, fully represent somebody that believes the lower half is the key to, like I said before, not only arm health, but velocity. Right. Velocity sells, but the biggest thing we want is the healthy arms. And if we're not using the legs, as you know, and we study upon study, and one of the first people that I studied was Dr. Mike Marshall. Right. And even though he didn't have the data to back it up, he understood that force off that back leg is key to arm health and more velocity. So I truly believe in what you just said. The more data that we're able to collect, especially what we're going to do here, hopefully within the next 6 months, is build that mound that actually tells us how much force off the back and how much force to the front and what it does to velocity.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, that product is there, but it's not on a low end to where every consumer can have that. So I think that's where you can really grab the market. Right, exactly.
Like I said, I want to build it into an actual official pitching mound without the dirt, obviously, but to a point to where we're able to do everything now.
So as far as like we know, you're really you've knocked it out of the park, or you're definitely the king of the hill when it comes to getting out on the ground and bringing your product to people. What are talk about social media for you, or any other marketing to you? Have you found any success outside of just going out and shaking hands?
Yeah, obviously the internet is the key to marketing any product or any business nowadays. Still in the early stages of in the adolescent stages of figuring out how to do this stuff, and I actually hired my son Troy to come in and do a lot of my media stuff. And for the most part, he's also learning how to send out posts and send out tweets and stuff like that. Instagram's another one. I got to figure out Snapchat. So we're in the process of getting this out there. And, I've talked to a couple people about my website and my product and stuff, and they say that we're only about 8 to 9% out in the market right now, meaning people knowing about us.
Right, I know.
And I think that once we get the media figured out, which my son, got to get him to come in earlier. He's one of them night owls. I think it's really going to take off.
Well, Rich, too, just on our Snapchat, we post a lot. Guys will see us doing our drills using your King of the Hill plate, and we'll get a lot of guys asking, what is that? What's that plate? And it's really easy to just send the link over to the King of the Hill. So that might be a big one for you guys. Start getting it out on Snap.
Yeah, if I can get my son to show up.
Well, so talk about, I guess, be our last questions. I mean, we could talk forever, but talk about, give us some of your strengths in this business, and then give us some of your weaknesses, or vice versa.
In the strengths, through my training to become a tool maker, the first thing I did was build high-speed progressive dies, and what that is you take a strip of steel and you put it into a die, and out comes a part at the end that has different stages or different positions where this part is folded up and holes put in, and it starts off with one hole and ends up as a part when it comes out. Well, each station does its job, and what my job was to do was to make sure every station did its job and come out with the complete part to where it measures correctly and it works correctly. Well, I think that played a big role into my understanding of what pitching's all about. If there's a problem at the end, we don't try to fix it at the end. It might be something that happens earlier in the pitching motion. I think that my ability to be able to see what happens early to fix what happens late has been a huge role in producing this, my trainer too, because I knew through verbal commands I couldn't get my pitchers to create that force off that back leg, and there was no drills out there that did it. So that's probably my strength, is be able to see and break down videos and stuff, even though every time I see you do something, I learn something new. That's probably my strength. My weakness is the business side. I absolutely positively hate the bookkeeping, the financial stuff. I want to do the fun stuff. So now that we're starting, sales are starting to go up. I'm able to hire people here and there to be able to do a lot of that stuff. And again, my brother being a big part of taking over all the manufacturing. He just showed up too, by the way. That took a huge burden off of my shoulders because he's also a mechanical guy. We grew up building cars and racing cars when you're younger, and dirt bikes, and we didn't have the money to have somebody else do it, so we had to do it ourselves, and we were all mechanically minded. My weakness is the business part, bar none. The media side I can do, but it's the business side. I'm sitting here with bills and I'm trying to figure out which one I got to pay, or which one I don't have to pay, or which one I've already paid. So,
well, I get it, man. I mean, it's a challenge for all of us, specifically when we, there's only a few of us running companies that get very popular. I mean, I think we both have we have that in common. Our companies have really grown, and it gets to a point where, we have to hire, but at the same time too, we're in baseball. Even though they're growing, the revenue's not insane, so it's challenging to hire. So you do wind up having to wear too many hats, and I think that's where we get stuck. we get stuck having to wear all these hats, and it's just at the end of the day, it's really hard to do it.
Yes. Oh, no doubt. And, when I first started up, I was using my savings. I didn't want to go out and get any investors. The money was tight, and I had to make sure I was paying the right bills and making sure I had enough money to pay my brother so he'd keep on showing up, and now my son. And the last probably October, sales really started picking up to the point to where now I'm able to hire a bookkeeper. I've been talking to a couple bookkeepers to come over and do that, so I don't have to worry about that. Because as well as I do,
it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it is a nightmare, and I've got to work on the business. I'll never forget when you said that. You're working in too much in the business. You got to work on the business.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I don't think people realize when you have the confidence just to walk away from your everyday money to really invest in your own business, it's unbelievable how it comes back like threefold.
Yes, no, there's no doubt. Now that I hired my son, I already seen some results from what he's done just on consistent tweets and consistent Facebook and Instagram. Now we're going to get into a little bit of emailing, which again, it's hit or miss for that because majority of the time it's deleted before they even take a look at it. But when it's in your face, like on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, I can see some big results.
Yeah, and with my business, it's I've had guys come in and out of here, and Steven being the most current one. Steven's been the best, and I think the reason he's
that's right.
the reason he's stuck is because he didn't want to be an employee, and I guess because I'm such an entrepreneur, I want more like-minded people around me, and I don't really want employees. I want owners. And
right.
Steven was all for it. I said, look, I really don't want to pay you. I want you to own one of my products, and when I pay you, it's commission based. And so that's what he's done. He built the nutrition product, and he's still building more products. And I think it takes a lot of stress between him and I off because we look at each other the same as opposed to that's my employee and why the hell am I paying him because he did this last week, Right.
It was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I love that book. Great book.
Oh, my God. And one of the things that stuck in my head is Carnegie had probably over 100 businesses, and 70 of them failed, but those 30 made him a billionaire.
Yeah, right.
And when he hired people, he wanted to hire smart people, not for him to tell them what to do, but for them to tell him what to do.
Exactly.
And that's why I see Steve too. Steve's taken over, and he's right in there with it. It's huge.
He might be smarter than me, which sucks because I got like 20 years on him. So he's going to catch up to me pretty soon.
I do want to see what you got going, Steve. I haven't really taken a whole lot of time to see what you got going there.
I got to send you. I'll send you the nutrition program. You can take a look at it, and then we can talk about some of the other stuff we're trying to implement as well.
Yes,
and we're excited.
Definitely. No.
And we're excited, Rich. We got the next ABCA coming up. Tell them about this ABCA because it's in your neck of the woods, and we're gonna have a bigger booth this year.
Oh, yeah, we got 3 times the booth. And what's David Ardsman want to do? He wants to build a little lounge in there.
Classic David.
Yeah, it's classic. Yeah, we want to do a lot more demonstrations. I'm going to bring down a couple of my big kids down there to do some of your drills and do some of our med ball stuff. Cool. It's down in Indianapolis, which is 2 hours away from us instead of Anaheim, which, it's like 10 days away from us. I tell you, that killed the pocketbook when I went out there.
Yeah, I know. That was rough, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll have, I tell you, this is going to be our biggest and best one. We got a better spot, a more accessible spot for the coaches, and we're going to make a lot of noise, and I think this is going to be our best one.
Well, I'm excited, and I'll bring all of my artillery, and we'll knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well.
Yeah, no doubt. 2 hours away is a lot better, like I said, than a way out there.
All right, Rich. Well, we're excited. We're running long on this. We're going to end it. We'll probably definitely do this again. And thanks for coming on and sharing everything about the King of the Hill. And we're really excited about its growth and all this new stuff coming out. Absolutely. And, of course, if anybody wants to know more about it, you can learn it from us. You can learn it from Rich is it trainwiththeking.com?
Correct. Trainwiththeking.com.
And they can find you on Instagram, Facebook as well.
Twitter.
Yep.
Twitter.
Yep. Twitter, just King of the Hill or Train with the King. Either one of those, you can search us.
All right, Rich. Well, we'll see you soon, man. Always good talking to you.
Okay, you guys too. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, no problem. See you, Rich.
Thanks, Rich.
Okay.
See you.
All right. Bye.
All right, that was awesome. Rich is awesome. Not only an awesome guy, but hard worker. I love how he's just, with his blood, sweat, and tears, is building a great business. I think that's what's exciting to hear. As an entrepreneur, just what it's like at ground zero in a startup. He's 3 years in, and he's having this kind of success, which is unbelievable. Because when I was 3 years in, I was struggling to make, I think, enough money just to keep the lights on. So I think it's awesome to hear his success. What did you get out of it from him?
Yeah, no, same thing. He's just an awesome guy. He just sounds like a real hustler. Like he's really just been in the trenches, working his butt off out there, emailing coaches, and then once setting up those meetings, just making it happen, going out there, showing the product, giving a demonstration of the product, and he's had a lot of good feedback from it.
Yeah, so he's the perfect example of just the sweat equity. It's someone getting out on the ground, being the foot soldier that goes out, pretty much knocks on doors, and talks to people and shows the product and just networks and makes connections. Rich has made so many connections for me, which has just been awesome.
Yeah,
he's such a nice guy that he helps everybody in the process, and he just puts a lot of value out there. So that's why I've really enjoyed teaming up with him. He's a great guy. He's got a great business, and what we're doing together is awesome. So if you guys want to get the product, I would highly recommend you go to topvelocity.net, under products, search for 3X Velocity Development Kit with the King of the Hill. So what I did was develop a training manual with drills specific to the trainer, which are really great for beginner pitchers and elite pitchers, and it goes perfectly into all the programs. So you can buy that 3X Velocity Development Kit and at the same time too get all the other 3X programs, and the trainer works with everything. All the drills you can put that trainer into with any of the 3X programs. That's what I love about it. There isn't a drill that you really can't put the trainer in our approach, because it's the same foundation. And I don't think that can be said with a lot of those arm approaches. A lot of those drills you can't work with that trainer because it's not teaching you how the lower half is driving the arm, and that's where the flaw is, and that's where the breakdown is, and that's where baseball needs to step up to the plate. It was really disheartening to hear that Oakland really would send it back and say that we're not a drop and drive approach. Not that this is drop and drive. Maybe they just misunderstood that this is just ground force. It's using the ground to generate your forces. So hopefully they've changed their mentality since then. But I think this is where this is going to go. So if you want to get that product, topvelocity.net, under products, the 3X Velocity Development Kit, so you're going to get a manual with the trainer, and the added cost is because it's normally $250 plus shipping. The added cost is because you're getting my program with it. So when you order it there, you're getting everything, and we'll ship it to you. But I don't know, any last words?
No, I can't really think of anything other than it's just a great product, and I think a lot of guys benefit from it. I think a lot of our guys benefit from it, and I think it's one of those tools that in the future just about every pitcher is going to own one, kind of like how a hitter owns a tee. I really do believe you're right. I think it's perfectly correlated to the tee for hitters. I think it is. Mm-hmm. Well, cool. So after the last show, a lot of guys sent some comments in on people they want us to interview. John Madden was on there. I'm going to try to get him on the show. So let us know if there's any other company coach that's doing business in this industry that you want us to interview and learn about how he works and how he provides value to the industry and how he's branding himself. Let us know. We'll do it. And we appreciate you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.